I'm often asked, how do we get out of the low mood, the low energy, the despair, the negative self-talk, the lower vibration? How do we get out of it when it happens? Because I think that there is an awareness now that we're responsible for keeping our vibration high, for managing our energy, our inner chatter, our inner world, our inner conversation, and that we can transform our life if we can be conscious, be aware in every moment of our energy levels, what's going on in the body, our vibration, our internal chatter, our internal dialogue, and that we can be aware of it. We can transform our lives and we can create from a much more stable and centered place. But what happens when the overwhelm happens, when everything feels too much, when the low mood is there? It can be there sometimes on waking with people, feelings of anxiety, feelings of despair, feelings of depression. And I think below all the feelings is the deepest place of fear. I think that being a human can be a very difficult journey, especially when there isn't an awareness of our essence and presence and our true nature. It can be very distressing when we get caught up in the thought patterns and the dramas and the cycles that don't work, and they can tip us into places of great distress and great despair and great depression. So what to do? What to do when we're feeling immensely distressed, immensely despairing, immensely distraught, and somehow we don't know how to pull ourselves out? And this is applicable if you've never ever done any work in terms of managing your vibration and managing your mood and managing your narrative. This is still going to be a helpful video. But also anyone who is working in these ways, who does know that they have the power to transform how they feel, transform what happens in their day by the narrative they have in their head, by the clearing of the pain when it arises, or the clearing of the irritation, or the clearing of the anger, or the clearing of the upset. And when I say the clearing, when it arises, feeling it in the body, because if we feel it, we can heal it, not attaching a narrative to it, and being able to breathe deeply to let that feeling leave our body. And it's actually the same cycle the other way. If we're wanting to enhance something good in our lives, we need to feel it in the body and then create a positive narrative for that. So we can feel a well-being in our body and go, I feel great, I feel great, I feel really, really great, I feel good, I feel good, I feel really, really good. Everything is good and it can only get better. So, but those methods of looking after ourselves, clearing the low moods and enhancing the good ones are really good practices, ongoing, every single day, just being aware. But what happens when somehow we haven't managed to clear a feeling in our body that threatens to take us down? What happens if we've not managed to catch the low mood, not managed to catch the feeling of distress and clear it immediately and stay centered and stay on true? I mean, that's the practice generally in everyday life. It's useful to do. But what happens when it all overwhelms and we plunge down and we feel in a big despair? I think that it can be really helpful first to actually really recognize it's happening, because sometimes when we're going into those spirals of distress and despair, we kind of are them. So it can be no kind of separation between the stuff, as I call it, the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle calls it, our childhood wounding that can be activated to such a degree that we're tumbling into a place of distress. If there's no separation, we can believe that it's nothing we can do about it, and that we are it. But what's important to have is to see if there's a sliver of awareness that it's happening, so that we're not tumbling into it unconsciously, and to be able to see it happening, feel it happening, and just have some sort of awareness. So that's the first place, to have some awareness it's happening, awareness that there's work needed, that the thing outside us, however upsetting it might be, that may have triggered us, whatever's going on, overwork, overwhelm, that actually there is an inner place where we're going to be able to shift this, because actually it's an inner response to the external, and that we're in charge, we can empower. So first it is that awareness, and then it's really important with pain and distress. People often don't actually deal with it. They will sometimes project it out by getting cross with the world, or blaming the external circumstances, or ranting but not actually clearing, or they'll push it down and just go into a low funk, a low mood, or they might try and distract with all manner of things: phone, television, work, substances, or kind of damp it down with substances, drugs, pharmaceuticals, alcohol, all sorts of things. So the awareness is key. Awareness, that you can feel the mood changing, you can feel your energy changing, you can feel yourself diving down, and that with that awareness there is action needed. I used to struggle a lot with depression in my 20s, and ongoing through my life till I've completely managed to eliminate it. But what I did at one point was, as I'd feel myself diving down, and actually my sister was very helpful, she said, I think you get depressed about being depressed. And she was so right. And that was such an enlightening thing for me. I was like, oh yes, I get depressed about being depressed. So I'm layering the thing on the thing. So I could feel the mood changing in my body. And I used to kind of visualize that I was in a little aeroplane and I was somehow diving down into the forest, and I used to have to pull it up out. And that visualization helped me know that I needed to do something, and that now action was needed. So there's a few things that can be useful. One is to find somebody to talk it out to, because then it's a clearing. So I invite my clients to send me voice notes when they're struggling, because by sending it to me, it's an action which states that they want to clear it, not that they're going to loop themselves around in a place where it can lock in. It can lock in into a place of, we become the victim really if we lock in. Whereas if we need to talk to somebody and we talk it out and we say, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, I know it's a process, I know I can clear it, but I feel this, I feel this, I feel this, I feel this. But we're almost giving ourselves a time limit with it. Or the person knows it's a process and that they're not supposed to need to do anything with it. They're just being as a space for the person to get it out, get it out, get it out. Then it's a clearing, not a projection. You're not projecting it onto the circumstances. You're not projecting it onto the, the world. Sometimes people do that. You are consciously going, I'm getting this out, I'm getting this out. And then there needs to be kind of change of state, that you go and make a cup of tea, make a cup of coffee, kind of almost like, right, that's out. Now I need to shift my vibration, and sometimes it means to go out, go for a walk, actually shift, go out and have a cup of coffee somewhere, go into another environment, because it's really important to be consciously change the state. That's one thing that used to help me, not necessarily the speaking out. I found it helpful writing, but then I'd go out for a cup of coffee. And something I used to do was like write everything down, but not read it back, burn it. I'm always saying to my clients when I suggest they do this, to burn it safely. But it can really be helpful writing, and it's very cathartic if you're a writey person. Not everybody's a writey person, but I was a very writey person. I am a very writey person. And so I'd write it down, write it down, write it down. Not try and analyse it, not try and work it out, because then you get in a tangle. Just write out what you're feeling, write it out, write it out. And burning is very helpful, I find, or found, and I found it with my clients, because somehow it's gone. You can't remember what you wrote, it's gone. And actually, Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, she suggests morning pages. And she suggests writing 3 pages a day in the morning and getting all your feelings out. She doesn't suggest the burning, but I'd encourage the burning. I encourage for that kind of getting funk out, getting stuff out, that you don't read it back, because you can write anything then. No internal editing at all. And it's out, out, out. That can be really useful. Sometimes if there's a very strong negative narrative going on, it can be useful to actually write all it down in sentences. You know, what you're feeling. I'll never be able to do this. Everything I do doesn't work. I try and I'm so tired. Nothing I can do can ever happen. You know, all those sorts of things. Write them down. But then the exercise for this is beside them, to at least see if you can shift the emotional set point a bit. So if you are feeling utterly in despair and nothing I do ever works, it's just too hard, everything's too hard, life's too hard, you could write something beside it, like going, I don't know how, but I know there's a way that I'm working out how to take forward steps that mean I can do the things I want to do, create the life I want. I know there's a way, I don't quite know how. Something like that. You need to shift the emotional set point enough to then write it out again, write the list out which you've done the shift with. I mean, if you're feeling really low, you might not feel like doing that immediately, but then you've got another list, and you then burn the first list safely. And then you've got something that you can start affirming with, which even if you start to slide into the downward spiral, you've got it nearby and you can read it and consciously work with it. But as I say, when you're really feeling like you're going down, that exercise might be something to do another time. I think more when you're going down, the kind of talking it out, writing it out, and then sometimes just having a really, really good cry, or a really good pillow bash, or if you live somewhere where you can go and shout and shout and shout and shout and shout and get it out, get it out, get it out, or you live near a punch bag and you can go and really go for it. Something where you're aware you're getting it out, and that there is a need to do it, and that there is a way to lift out of that lower vibration, that we can shift our energy. And I know that can be very, very hard, but if a lot of it is finding support to somebody to help you do it. So I've helped lots of people because I've helped myself out of stuff, so I've helped people, and when there's even a glimmer of a gap between the low mood and the space where you know you're not your mood. And I think it's really important for us to kind of know we're not our stuff. We're not that. We have our essence, our presence, our true self isn't any of our identifications or our issues or our adaptations or our beliefs or our identifications with the distress. That's a difficult thing to think when we're right in it. But that's where, from a practice just on a day by day process, it's good to practice a little bit of ideally, I mean, if you haven't got time, meditation or breath work perhaps isn't something you've got time to do every day, but if you can sit in the morning just for a few minutes and just watch and witness and watch the breath can bring us into the body and bring us to a place where we can feel our essence more and gradually practice stilling the mind. If we do that in the morning, then throughout the day we can have the breath bring us back, which means that we can clear the emotions as they arise, which means we're less likely to go into the funk and the deeper stuff. It means that if we are practicing 24/7 with the tiny bits, when we feel a slight pain in the heart, or we feel a slight irritation, or we feel a slight drop in energy, or a slight judgment, if when we feel those slight things, we're prepared to take a deep breath, anchor ourselves back into the body, clear the mind, and just go, here, I'm here now, I am where I am, all is well. And then that practice means that we're less likely to have a gathering of negative energy, because we're in touch with the smaller loops. We're in touch with when we have some painful, somebody says something or does something, we feel a stab in the heart, or we feel an irritation, or we feel a feeling in our gut. And rather than following a narrative or even trying to rationalize ourselves out of it, work it out, if we just go into the body, into the place where we feel the pain, breathe deeply, clear it, move it, clear it out, have a narrative that literally just says, I am where I am, it's okay, I am where I am, it's okay, I am who I am, it's enough, I am who I am. It's also often really helpful to just go, I love you, I love you, I love you, I trust you, I trust you. Just have some mantras that mean that the narratives we have are positive and powerful. We don't go off on a narrative that is destructive or unhelpful. We're able to clear the feelings in the body. That means those loops don't gather momentum, which means we're less likely to have the really big, deep, low moods coming on to us. And if they do, they're less frequent. And if we do, we've got better skills to manage them, and we've got more awareness they've even come in.